In this chapter, we will discuss how to write an technical report or a research report. So, research is the systematic investigations into study of a natural phenomena or materials or sources or existing condition of the society in order to identify facts or to get additional information and derive new conclusions. So it is a production process which needs a number of inputs to produce new knowledge and application of new and existing knowledge. So mostly research work is presented in a written form. Research report is a written document containing key aspects of research project. A research report is a medium to communicate research work with relevant people. It is also a good source of preservation of research work for the future reference. Many times, research findings are not followed because of improper presentation. Preparation of research report is not an easy task. It requires a good deal of knowledge, imagination, experience, and expertise. And it also demands a considerable time and money. So we can say research report is the systematic, articulate, and orderly presentation of research work in a written form. It contains relevant information on the research work carried out. We are having different types of reports. The first one is the technical report. So what is a technical report? It describes the research project and its findings in detail. Usually they are intended to be read by people interested in all or most aspects of the project's design and execution. Full technical reports often begin with an extended description of the project's research aim and methods, covering areas such as the stimulus for the project, sample selection, sample size, data gathering, methods, and data analysis procedures. So the rest of the report then describes the project findings in depth. So most technical reports are somewhere between 50 and 150 pages long. There is no set length or page maximum, although very long reports are probably less likely to be read from cover to cover. So as they are of interest only to a narrow audience, many technical reports are not widely available or published in hard copy form. So if they are published, this tends to be electronically in PDF file format, with copies usually accessed by download from websites or via email on request. Then second type of report is manuscripts for journal articles. It is a research report presented in a form suitable for publication in an academic or scientific journal. Journal articles are normally a reasonably concise and tightly written form of research report. So in contrast to technical reports, journal articles usually do not go into extensive detail about all aspects of a project. Instead, they concentrate on reporting certain key aspects or findings from a project. Journal articles are mainly intended to be read by managers and professionals, frontline service providers, policy analysts, and other people interested in the topic. So in general, journal articles tend to have a larger and more diverse audience than technical reports, and usually a manuscript for a journal article is no more than 10 to 30 pages in length, and many journals have page or word limits for articles. Manuscripts for journals are usually submitted electronically to the journal's editors. Then the third type of the report is for theses and dissertations. A thesis or dissertation is typically written by a student as part of a qualifying for a master's, PhD, or other higher degrees. The dissertation or thesis provides a detailed account of the design, methods, and results of the student's research project. As well, it normally includes a comprehensive review of previous studies and other literature on the topic. Most theses and dissertations are written under the guidance of a university supervisor with the finished work assessed by experts in the student's field of study. Expected length of dissertations or thesis may be stipulated by the student's university or institution. For example, there may be guideline that PhD thesis should be 50,000 words, or mostly the dissertations and thesis tend to be about 120 to 300 pages long. A feature of thesis and dissertation is that normally only a small number of printed and bound copies are produced. Some institutions also require electronic copies to be submitted on a CD to accompany the paper copy. There are some other types of research reports also, which may be non-technical reports, books, book chapters, spoken reports such as the conference presentations. So non-technical reports are often written as a way of distributing or publicizing research results to individuals and groups with no or very little existing knowledge of a research topic. Then comes characteristics of an effective research report. First one is focus. An effective report emphasizes the important information. Second is accuracy. An effective report does not mislead the reader. Clarity. An effective report does not confuse the reader. And last one is conciseness. An effective report does not waste the reader's time. Then we move to the steps in report writing. Now start thinking about what to include in a research report and how it will be written and presented as early as possible in the research process. Even before the data collection and analysis phases of a project are completed, begin mapping out a broad preliminary outline of the report's structure. Start making notes on what information and ideas could be covered in different parts of the text. Expand and update this primary outline from time to time as new ideas come to the mind about what to include in the report. So when preparing the text for your first draft, don't forget to look at your research proposal. Check out how much of its text can be used in your research report. For example, with a small amount of adaptation, material from the research proposal might be able to be used in sections of your report. So, the first step in report writing is analyze the task. As with any assignment task, you must first analyze what is expected of you. This involves careful reading of the assignment task as outlined in your course information book. You may find many questions useful when analyzing the task, like what is the purpose of the report? It could be analyzing, persuading, or reporting on an investigation. Second is, who is the audience for the report? What is the word limit? What is the topic of your report? Or what is expected format of your report? Second step is develop a rough plan. So use the section headings to assist with your rough plan. Write a thesis statement that clarifies the overall purpose of your report, then jolt down anything you already know about the topic in the relevant sections. Third step is do the research. So steps 1 and 2 will guide your research for the report. You may need to report on another research on a particular topic or do some research of your own. Keep referring to your analysis and rough plan while you are doing your research to ensure that you remain on track. Give yourself plenty of time for this step, as the research phase of your work will usually take the most time of any step in producing your report. Also ensure you keep correct bibliographic details for all of the material you may later use in your report. Step number 4 is draft the body of your report. So the body of the report, it may include many chapters like introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, recommendations. So you need to draft all the chapters. Then comes the fifth step, which is draft the supplementary material. Supplementary material includes references or appendices. In references, you include all the references used in your report or refer to for background information. This must be done using the referencing convention specified by your institute. In appendices, what is appendices? These add extra information to the report. If you include appendices, they must be referred to in the body of the report and must have a clear purpose for being included. Each appendix must be named and numbered. Step 6. Step 6 is draft the preliminary material. Now, what is the preliminary material? It is the title of the report, table of contents, and abstract or synopsis. So, title of report, make sure this is clear and indicates exactly what you are searching. In table of content, list all the sections, subheadings, tables, graphs, appendices, and give page number for each. And abstract or synopsis gives a very brief overview of the report in a condensed form. And the last step is polish your report. So the final step is checking your report to ensure you have followed all of the guidelines as outlined in the course, or you have to apply the plagiarism checks also and get a report from a plagiarism check software. Next step is report format. So a report, it includes preliminary material, then the main body of the report, and at last the supplementary material. So when these three things, they are combined together, they form your research report. So what is there in preliminary materials? The preliminary pages include, first one is the title page. The cover page should include the report's title, author's name, the affiliations or address of the author, and the date. The report's title should be no longer than 12 to 15 words and in a larger font size than the rest of the text on the cover page. Make sure the title clearly conveys the main topic of the research. Many people will decide whether to read the report based on its title. So avoid using abbreviations in a title. In the title, try to include keywords commonly used to describe your research topic. This will make it easier for people to find your report when searching the internet for information. So this title, it should not be more than 12 to 15 words. Then what is there in a title page? The name of your course, your name, roll number, and the name of the institution should be there. This is for journal. Generally in journal, the title is there. Okay. The title is there, and then comes the name of the authors. The author's name, generally it may be centered below the title or it may be aligned sidewise. So below the author's name, we write the affiliation or name of the university or the research institution. So the person who did the work and wrote the paper is generally listed as the first author of a research paper. And for published articles, other people who made substantial contributions to the work are also listed as authors. But ask your mentor's permission before including his or her name as co-author. Then comes the candidate declaration. So here you can see you have to declare that the research work carried out is your own and your supervisor has to sign on this declaration, and there are signs of your external examiner as well as the dean academic on the declaration page. After that comes the abstract. So a summary or abstract should concisely describe the key elements of a research project, particularly its findings. Summaries and abstracts should be able to read in a few minutes. For relatively short technical reports, keep the length of the summary or abstract to 1 page or less. For longer or more complex reports, summaries could be several pages in length, maybe 2 to 10 pages. So put plenty of effort into writing and revising your summary or abstract. Most people taking an initial look at your report will decide whether to read the rest of it based on what they read in the abstract. So it is therefore a potentially crucial entry point to your research report. The abstract is the most important part of a research report. The abstract will be the first thing the readers read, and it should be the last part of the report that you write, because it appears in the beginning pages, but we write the abstract after writing the full report. Abstract should be one paragraph of 100 to 250 words, which summarizes the purpose, methods, and results and conclusion of a research paper. So in research papers, there is just one paragraph of the abstract. And again, it is easiest to write the abstract after the paper itself is written. And in case of journal papers, a rough rule of thumb is to write an introductory sentence, then one sentence per chapter of your report, and a few sentences summarizing your most important conclusions or recommendations. Again, don't use abbreviations or citations in the abstract. Next pages in your report are of research publication. So generally in your thesis or dissertation, you should list all the journal or conference publications or book chapters published which were part of your research work. Acknowledgement. Here we acknowledge all the individuals or organization or groups who directly or indirectly helped in carrying out the research. Include only if special help was received from an individual or a group. Next is contents. List of figures, list of tables. So in these three, we write in order every chapter, section and subsection with page number. So in contents, everything should be written with page number. And all the tables, figures and pleats should be numbered in your report. And after contents, you should list them with the page numbers. Then comes the notations. You should explain all the notations and abbreviations in alphabetical order. You should mind one thing, each symbol should have one and only one meaning. Don't use a symbol to mean one thing in one formula and then use the same symbol to mean something else in another formula. So if your report includes mathematical formulas, check to make sure you haven't used the same symbol to mean two different things. Similarly, don't change the notation. Don't use different symbols to represent the same thing in different parts of the report. So after the preliminary pages, then comes the main body of your report. So again, the main report that is divided into the chapters, and these are the just main guidelines how you can write the chapters. So generally we can have these 5 main chapters in the main body. The first one is the introduction. Now a reader of the introduction should be able to answer the questions: what is the research about? Why is it relevant or important? What are the issues or problems? What is the proposed solution or approach? What one can expect in the rest of the research? So tell the reader what the problem is, what question you will try to answer, and why it is important. So before moving to the first chapter, I will like to tell you what should be there in introduction. In introduction, first of all, we will write the problem in broad terms. So describe the problem in 1 or 2 paragraphs. The first 1-2 sentences should be striking in order to gain the reader's attention. Then comes the background section. In background section, it narrows the focus of the study through other studies and reports. So it is not possible to specify the length of the first two subtitle sections. Generally 2 to 4 pages or even less can be acceptable. So the introduction and background sections are typically expanded in chapter 2, the review of literature. So after that, the statement of the problem is given. Now it is the most critical part of a research project, because when written in a clear form, it provides direction to the entire project. After statement of the project, next is the importance of the study. So value of the study is explained by relating anticipated results to the general area of the study, and it would be wasteful to do a study that had no value at all. So after providing these things, then the delimitations and limitations are written. Delimitations are factors that affect the study over which the researcher has control, and delimitations set the boundaries or limits. Limitations are factors that may affect the study but which are out of control of the researchers. After that, we include the assumptions, because assumptions explain factors that may affect the study but which will not be controlled. And the last section of your introduction chapter is organization of the thesis. This section presents an outline of the remainder of the study. So here we write, for example, chapter 2 is a review of selected literature concerning, chapter 4 is a discussion or finding, and like this, usually subsequent chapters are described in only 1 or 2 sentences. This summary leads the reader to the next chapter. So after that, our second chapter is generally about the literature review. It contains, first is the introduction. It indicates how chapter 2 is organized. It explains the subsections in chapter 2, theory relevant to the area under study, historical background, current trends, significant research, data, and summary of previous researches is written in this chapter. Again, it is not possible to specify the length of the chapter 2. It should reflect the findings of research related to the problem statement and expand upon the introduction and background section of chapter 1. In studies with significant limitations or in historical studies, citations should be extensive using the format recommended by your institution. And again, in the last section, the limitations of previous researches, they are given so that the importance of your statement, that is highlighted, and in last section again we give the summary. After that comes the research methodology. Generally the third chapter is research methodology. So here, first of all, the description of materials and equipments that is given. Actually, the research methodology section describes the type of information or data gathered for the project, from where you have taken or from whom it was obtained, how it was collected, and how it was analyzed. So the general rule that governs the writing of chapter 3 is to show the step-by-step process utilized so that someone in the future who decides to replicate the study would be able to do so. Therefore, it should be complete, detailed, and clear enough to allow another investigator to understand how you ran your experiment. So here subsections are there. The first subsection should give us a brief description of the equipment or materials used in the study. Standard hardware such as stopwatch need not to be described in detail. Remember, the description must be detailed enough so that reader can replicate the study. The next section should be the procedures. Being a kind of recipe of each step in the execution of the project, these instructions to the subjects must be recorded. The formation of groups, specific experimental manipulations performed on each group, these are included. Procedures such as randomization, counterbalancing, and other control procedures are also detailed. To assist yourself in clear execution of this section, Keep in mind that one of the purposes of it is to allow another experimenter to replicate exactly what you have done. Do not put your results in this section. We may just include the preliminary results that were used to design the main experiment that you are reporting in. And at last, again, we give the summary. After this, our chapter number 4 is of results and discussions. So the results section summarizes the data and the statistical treatment of them. When reporting findings in detail, a good technique is to report the findings in order of importance, starting with the most important finding. Alternatively, findings could be presented in the same order as the project's numbered research objective. Use new paragraphs or subsections to report each new finding or set of results. Make sure you describe your results precisely and accurately and state the direction of any relationship between variables. Then comes the tables. So when you write your result section, you will have to decide what information to present in tables and graphs or figures, and what information to present in the text of the report. So present the most important results, those that directly answer the research objectives, in more than one way. You can describe those results verbally in the text and then illustrate them in graphs or present them numerically in tables. Sometimes it is hard to decide whether to present the results of a particular analysis in a table or in a graph. To make this decision, ask yourself what you are trying to communicate. The actual numbers, for example, scores or percentage, or the relationships between the numbers. Tables are better than graphs for presenting the actual numbers, but graphs are far better than tables for showing the relationships between numbers. The tables that are intended to communicate the main results should appear in the body of the report. Tables that are intended for reference purposes should be placed in an appendix. Label your tables clearly, and table labels are provided at the top of the table. Do not use symbols or abbreviations as row or column headings unless those symbols or abbreviations are so commonly used that you can be sure that everybody who reads the report will know them. Make sure to specify the units in which the numbers are expressed. Figures or graphs are nearly always the best way to show comparisons or relationships. Label each figure clearly, and figures are labeled at the bottom generally. If the graph has axes, label them in terms that can be clearly understood even by a reader who has not read anything else in the report. And don't try to put too much information into a single graph. Then comes the discussion section. The discussion section is the part of the report where you summarize the results of your study and relate them to the research questions your study was intended to answer. It should point out the limitations of your study. Discuss possible alternative explanations for the results of your study. Then compare your research results to the other studies on the same topic. Be sure to present these comparisons in a way that will be meaningful to a reader who does not know about those other studies. And at the last, conclude by explaining the importance of your study, what are the practical implications of your results, who can use the information your study provided. And the last chapter is conclusions and scope for further study. So in this section, the questions or hypotheses raised in chapter 1 are answered using the data presented in chapter 4. Then a conclusion could speculate on the limitations that prevented a viable result. So conclusions are always stated tentatively. That is, we have to use the words "it appears that" or "the data indicates that." Findings may provide evidence that a hypothesis can be rejected or a question answered. But flat assertions of fact are rarely appropriate in educational research. Then comes the scope for further study. Here, the researcher could recommend that the study he replicated using a different sample, a larger sample, or a new environment. Recommendations for further study may also acknowledge limitations in the present study and suggest the need to control variables which have confounded the study. So this was the main body or main part of your report. Then comes the supplementary material. So supplementary materials are, first one is the references. Ensure all references cited in the text of a thesis are listed in the reference list. So one way to check is randomly select about 10 to 15 references from the thesis introduction and literature review chapters, and then look to see if each one of these references is listed in the reference list. If you find one missing, you need to do a more systematic check. So examiners of theses usually do this check, and it is often surprisingly easy to find references cited in the text that are not in the reference list. Similarly, remove any references in the reference list not cited in the text. This problem often arises when references included in earlier drafts are deleted from the text but not deleted from the reference list at the same time. So you should always check that all the citations should be there in reference list. Okay, and in reference list there should not be any reference which is not cited in the text. There are different type of the referencing styles. So generally we follow Harvard referencing style. So I can just explain one of the referencing styles. So in Harvard referencing styles, first of all, we have to cite the reference in the text. So that is in-text citation. So it consists mainly of the author's last name and the year of publication in round brackets placed within the text. If there is no discernible author, then the title and the date are used. Now, for example, I have taken some results from a reference of paper of Neville, which was published in 2010 in some journal of Open University Press, New York. So, in text where I will use those results, I will write that Neville 2000 or like this Neville 2000 stated that. Okay, and this citation, it should appear in the reference list. In reference list, the complete detail of the title of the paper and its publication details of the journal or book or whatever, that should be provided. So again, the reference list should be ordered alphabetically by the last name of the first author of each work. So references with no author are ordered alphabetically by the first significant word of the title. Use only the initials of the author's given names. No full stop, no space between the initials. And last name comes first. Here is an example that cites a book with one author using Harvard style, and then comes the referencing style, in which first of all the name of author is there, then year published, title, city published, publisher, and pages used. This information should be there. So I give you an example that first of all we will write down last name, comma, first name, then full stop. Then in brackets we will write down year published, then comes the article title, full stop, then journal, comma, volume or issue, comma, page or pages. So while mentioning the pages, we use the word P dot for single page and PP dot for number of pages. Now here is one example that AK, comma, B, full stop, and Tasdamir, comma, M dot A dot, in brackets the year of publication, that is 2012. Then comes the title, mechanical behavior and fiber dispersion of hybrid steel fiber reinforced self-compacting concrete, full stop. Then in italics comes the journal name, construction and building materials. Then comes the volume 28. In brackets, we will write down the issue number. Here it is 1, and there are number of pages, so I will write down pp. 287 to 293. So this is a Harvard referencing style. If we have referenced any book in our report, then we will write the first of all the last name, comma, first initial dot, like Desikan, comma, S, and Ramesh, comma, G, dot. In the brackets, year published 2006. Then the title in italics, software testing. Then we can write down the city, that is Bangalore, India. Who are the publishers? Darling Kindersley. There is just one page that we have referenced, that is 156. So this is a Harvard referencing style. We can reference, refer any book or website. Okay, so if website is there, then we have to first of all give the last name, then the first initial, year published, page title. Online, we have to specify in brackets that it is online source, and then we have to write the website name and available at its URL and accessed day or month or year. And if no author is there, then first of all comes the website names, just like mms.com, the year in which it was published, 2020. Then the page title in italics. So M&M's official website, we have to specify it is online, available at its URL and accessed on 2nd April 2020. So in this way, all your citations, they should be given in a list which is given a heading of references. And the last part of your report is the appendices. The appendices contain pertinent materials that are not important enough to be included in the body of the report or proposal, but which may be of value to some readers. So any tables, figures, forms or other materials that are not totally central to the analysis but that need to be included are placed in the appendix. So then your report is complete.